the new Indian EV policy. This was something. There was a lot of rattle around this. It's kind of very sensitive. It's very sensitive. You have an Indian automotive industry that was built with a lot of love, heart, labor. Everything went ahead with it, and essentially it built a modern India, right? With Maruti's of the world when they did the joint venture with Suzuki, with Hero, Honda when it was there, and all of these players essentially build India as what it is. Essentially elevating the life of Indians, and so the cutting down the import cost was always a very, very, very sensitive topic. It was always the most obvious one when we said that why the cars are expensive, but you, at one hand, you also want to protect what Indian automotives, right? Indian OEMs are there. So let's go with step by step on what the policy essentially says. So essentially the minimum investment that is required. On an overall particular perspective, they're cutting down the import policy to 15% right now. But in order to get that, these are the particular steps that are there. These are the prerequisites that are there. So the company need to have minimum investment of 4,150 crores required with no cap on maximum investment. 3 years to set up manufacturing units in India and to start commercial production of EVs. Manufacturers to reach 50% domestic value addition within 5 years at the minimum. Co-setting up manufacturing units for EVs to be allowed. Limited imports of cars at lower custom duty. Maximum 40,000 EVs at rate of not greater than 8,000 EVs per year. Permissible if investment is $800 million or more. The custom duty of 15% will be applicable on vehicles of minimum CAF value of $35,000 and above for a total period of 5 years, subject to the manufacturer setting up manufacturing facilities in India within the 3-period mark. And the duty foregone on total number of EVs allowed for import would be limited to the investment made, or 6,484 crores, which is equal to the incentive under the PLI scheme, or whichever is lower. So, they really thought about this. And for me, I think the biggest takeaway for this would be the minimum CAF value of $35,000. That essentially protects the Tatas of the world, the Mahindras of the world, the Hyundais of the world. Essentially, we are not cutting up their market, but even opening up now, for the higher particular market that is there. So your Mercedes and other companies that were building up, bringing in CBUs, which were at 1.3 crores, 2 crores or whatever, they'll get a lot of benefit for this particular regard. The 50% domestic value addition is also very interesting because, again, the local automotive component manufacturers that were there, they will also benefit a lot from this, and as well as setting up manufacturing plants, the amount of employment that is going to bring in, to the local region, that is also going to be massive. So what's your take at this?
No, I think this is a master stroke by the government, and it's actually well thought out because, it is about protecting Indian manufacturers, but it's also about bringing in new technology. So if you look at the old regime for importing vehicles, if the value of the car CAF value, which is I think cost, insurance, and freight, is above $40,000, then the import duty was 100%. If it was under $40,000, then it was 70%. So now the government has said, let's scrap that, and now let's just make sure that the value is above $35,000, and if that's above $35,000, then it's only 15%. And so, like you said, it's to protect, the Mahindras. I really feel who's really at risk are probably the people like, let's say a Mercedes C-Class, an Audi A4, a BMW 3 Series, because that's like the low end. And of course, I'm comparing an ICE versus an EV, but I feel that that's who they're going after, kind of saying, hey, they may be at risk because now you can get a Model 3 for a very inexpensive price versus, let's say, a C-Class once, the manufacturing set up. But more importantly, I think it kind of starts building out that ecosystem, which is really what the government wants and what it needs. So you had mentioned Maruti Suzuki up north, but if you look at Pune as a city, it was pretty sleepy many years ago, decades ago. But then the likes of Mercedes came, Bajaj Automotive was there, Force Motors, all these companies. It turned it into a manufacturing belt, and I think that is what the country's hoping for, is maybe create new manufacturing belts, or make sure that it's focused on the EV space. So that means battery production should be happening, battery research should be happening maybe at these IITs, recycling should be happening. So starts creating this entire ecosystem. So my idea would be great. Someone, Tesla sets up, somebody works at Tesla for 3 years, then they say, I've got a better idea. I'm going to leave my job at Tesla and set up something in Indian city XYZ. And that's the whole idea is, it kind of starts percolating and, people kind of go from, point A to point B, job A to job B, and it kind of takes that knowledge with them. And I think that's kind of what they were saying has happened with Tesla in China, because Tesla in China was there, the rise of BYD. We just talked about Xiaomi, the gigacasting, the hypercasting, all of that. So I think that's the same thing that's happening here. And the real thing is everyone now is waiting for Tesla Model 3. Hopefully the Cybertruck will come. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Of course, we need to get the cars to make sure that they are right-hand driven, so that has to be produced.
They are doing that in Berlin, right now. So there were early news that they were starting at the right
But
hand.
they were saying that's for the Model Y and the Model 3. Okay. I don't think it applies to the X, the S, or the Cybertruck. But who knows?
Who knows? So, when you and me, we went through the Bloom Ventures report a few months ago, if you see, and that was saying that the four-wheeler market is going to grow with a CAGR of 45%. I don't think that the policy came much later than that. So I think looking at this, the CAGR is just going to increase much more. I think the Indian market is about to be very, very vibrant in terms of technology, which in a way was required. I think, we Indian automotives did a lot of good work, I would say. And there will still be a part. I mean, they are still protecting the mass market vehicle. So. That's still going to be there and going to hold the largest share. But in terms of adding a lot of vibrancy toward the topper end of the market, which essentially will allow Hyundai to bring in more of their vehicles now. Kia is going to bring in so many more vehicles. You would have VinFast is manufacturing in India. All of these guys, looking at all of this, I think in the next 6 months, the amount of news that are going to come out is going to be very, very interesting space, I think, to look out for.
No, definitely next 6 months and then the next 3-4 years. And, a lot of things are aligning in the automotive space. You've got now Bharat NCAP. So all those, crash test ratings are done in Pune via ARAI. So that's another piece to it. The safety standards are being implemented. So when you got safety and, they've got EV standards around safety as well. So a lot of these things are kind of all aligning to really take, the Indian automotive, what I'd say like next 2.0, something, much bigger, much better. And I think it's very interesting to see, like you said, VinFast is coming. I'm sure because of this MG, JSW, that's the reason why they're investing money. Tesla most likely will come, as we go to recording. I think just yesterday or the day before, Elon had tweeted that he is coming to India to meet our Prime Minister Modi. And I'm pretty sure he's not just doing it just to talk about Twitter or X. He's probably going to be talking about how he's setting up a manufacturing facility in India. So they're coming, and I would imagine potentially Xiaomi may come. Of course, there's a lot of geopolitical, issues around Chinese companies setting up, but I think it's just kind of setting, the policy that, hey, we're open to it, because although we talked about the, the Bloom report and, the growth of the markets, it may not happen right away in the first couple of years, but what it can do is it can turn into an export hub. So at least till, we get into the sales that we want in this country. But in the meantime, let's start manufacturing, build up all of the tech that we need to, and then start exporting it. And, be an export hub for this region. And it's the typical strategy that people talk about, China +1. And of course, now we are the +1 for manufacturing.
It honestly also leaves automotive is one part of it, but leaves the opportunity for so many other players in the market. As you said, like cell manufacturing definitely is going to be, even though it's a commodity, that is going to be a bigger thing. Battery pack technology is going to be a bigger thing. Charging is going to be a bigger thing. Further down the line, even recycling is going to be a bigger thing. So essentially, as they always say in many reports, that EVs are a proper example of a circular economy. I think that we are actually going to see a lot of vibrancy in this space because of the policy that's there now.